Welcome to What Are You Sporting About podcast, a podcast about business, employment, sports, and entertainment to help educate, support, and guide you to your next level. Here's your host, attorney Sivonnia DeBarros.
Hey guys, it's Sivonnia DeBarros, protector of athletes, and today I have Jori on the phone. Hi, Jori.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. And let me just say Jori Davis so people know your name, honey.
Yeah. Yes.
How are you today?
I am doing good. It's actually nighttime here in Athens, Greece. So,
man, I cannot wait to go to Athens, Greece. For real.
Yep. Yeah, come on over. I'll be here.
5 years.
Yep, come on over. I'll be here.
So it's a pleasure to have you on the line because you have created this, I want to just say family, or at least the makings of a family that is so unique, something that I have not seen being done before or yet. So tell us about that.
So WeVolv, it stands for WeVolv, as in the Elite Athletes, is a private network and social learning platform for global elite athletes is in order to help them manage their athletic and alternative careers. So basically their dual careers, but also help them, have a more enriched lifestyle. And so in a sense, of course, it was created out of my own struggle, my own battles, especially as overseas athletes. I call us the lost community. And I felt there was so much lacking, but I felt one of the key things to us changing and evolving was unity. And so the mission of WeVolv is to unite the collective. And that's the first step. And so, our stories and everything we go through, the goods and the bad, are lost to so many in the sports industry. And so that's where I started with the idea of how can we create a platform that connects us, but also provides value to the future, the present, and the past athletes that have gone through this process. And that's ultimately how I started to, create this network. It has a piece of tech, and it also has an offline piece to it to better bring us all together to start to deal with the things we need to deal with. As they say, you get your house clean first, then you can go out. So things we need to deal with as athletes. And then when we become more, then the world around us and the industry around us will follow suit per se. So that's just, kind of in a sense where we are trying to go with WeVolv.
No, I love it because you don't hear a lot of people championing for the athletes who go overseas and play. You guys still are professional athletes, and that in itself is a major feat. It's an opportunity that a lot of people don't have. It still takes skill and sacrifice to get where you are. And unfortunately, like you said, it is a lost community. It puts me in the mind of college athletes who don't go to an NCAA school. They're forgotten about, or the resources aren't technically there the way that they would be for a D1 NCAA school. So I really, truly feel like what you're creating with WeVolv is necessary, and it's going to change a lot of people's lives. One thing I've noticed, though, or let me just back up for a second, because an athlete who right now is in college hoping for a future to play pro, and someone who's never gone anywhere. When I say gone anywhere, gone outside of the country. What are the challenges, or did you face any challenges traveling abroad to do something that you love and that you're passionate about?
Yeah, so it's definitely a struggle. For one, you have to have an open mind, and that's something that you're not just born with it. Of course, some people are a little bit more free spirited, but you have to open your mind because it's going to be different. It's going to be a totally different culture. And when I say that, it's not just, everyone loves to say totally different culture. And I love to say, well, what does that mean? So, for example, you might be used to your coach, especially if you're the best player, talking with you and maybe allowing you to be a leader. And maybe if you go to certain European countries and you have a male coach and you're a woman, that's going to be different. You know, if you come in a certain way, that might be perceived in the wrong way to that European or that person in that particular country. And that's when the mental struggles start to happen, when those types of things get shut down, or when your teammates already have a misconception about you as an American coming over. You know, that's where it starts to be a struggle. It's not just the general stuff like, hey, I'm going to Italy and they like smaller cars. No, it's the more deep-rooted cultural things that you have to be ready to shift a little bit in who you are without compromising who you are. And that is not easy to do. And for me, I left New Orleans and went to England when I was in high school and then went to Rochester. So I'd already been, had some help and some experience with going into totally different cultures from where I was born and raised before even going into this journey. So I had some experience compared to other individuals. But an individual that's leaving and never left their state, maybe also went to college in their state, they have to be prepared to understand this is not college. The resources are not the same. Your teammates might not all revolve around you because a coach says you're the best player. You have other people fighting for their careers. You have local players that are fighting for their careers and fighting for their respect. And then you have coaches that may put a bigger, stamp on your back to say you're supposed to do this. And that's where it's like, how do you handle that? So the biggest thing for me, I think, is opening your mind and then being ready mentally. And that's something that you can't just do alone. And that's something that your college coaches will not prepare you for. And that's why I always tell players, you can rely on your college coach or your agent, but right now my agent is in his home that he paid for with everything he wants is comfortable, and I'm in Greece. He's not here, you know? So your agent that's placing you somewhere is going to be in his house that he pays for and has everything he needs to be comfortable. When you're in your home abroad, who's going to be there? Who's willing to talk to you because they understand? And that's where I think players need to really start to look and say, okay, where can I go to get this support I need while I go through this journey?
That's a mouthful. One thing that you said, shift who you are without changing who you are. Shift who you are without changing who you are. It's so important to not just your survival, but your success, because on a daily basis, we should be willing to grow, learn, and evolve to become better people. And so if you are thinking of going abroad, or you've never thought about it, find a way to, even if you can't go abroad right now because of resources, pick up books and learn something new about a different country. Try and learn a different language. Because one thing you also said was too, you're gonna come across people who don't think you're great just because you're American. Right. America has filled up people's heads to make you believe that, oh, America is the land of the great. And other people in different countries are like, no. Yeah. Not that great. So, and I also think it may be a benefit if you do know that you're going to go to another country, try and learn a little bit of that language so that you can show that you're trying to understand the new culture that you're coming into. And I think that may also help the transition of an athlete a lot better than you just coming in with this mentality of I'm the best, everyone needs to listen to me, and that's just how it's going to go, because it really won't. It really won't.
And you also, as I've learned, and I try to tell players, you represent other individuals as well coming after you. How you represent an American athlete that's going to stay in the Europeans' minds, or wherever you might go. If you go play in
Correct.
Japan, if you go to play in Australia, and
Yep.
especially if you're an African American athlete with even more stigmas
Oh
and
my gosh.
misconceptions attached to you,
Yep.
that's how you act. That's going to hurt every other athlete, and the next African American, Black athlete, melanin rich, all the different things we might use to
Yep.
describe ourselves. When that next person comes, they're going to think everybody's like the last person that came.
Exactly.
And with all of that building up, that hurts the future of the next generation of athletes coming from America that want to have the opportunity to play here. So it's bigger than you.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. And it sucks. It truly does suck that you have to basically represent an entire culture of people. But it is what it is. You know?
Right. It is what it is. Like it does, you know, people say it like, hey, how would one person feel if they had to always represent the whole culture? And it's like, hey, but it is what it is. Take pride in representing your culture and the people you represent with pride.
And on a level that so many people dream about doing.
Right. Definitely.
Yeah. And even if it's not about representing an entire culture or community of people, you still are a role model to someone. And that in itself should put you in a different mindset of, okay, let me check myself. Let me make sure that I'm doing things that not just I would be proud of, but my parents would be proud of. And I will be proud of this, 20 years from now for the decisions that I've made. So because going abroad is already difficult in itself. You're in a different place. You're not around family. You're in a different location where they speak a completely different language. How has or hasn't it, the role of mentorship impacted your ability to be successful abroad?
Well, mentorship is a big piece, is one of the pillars that we have a part of WeVolv, and it was something that, I felt I really lacked. And over time, I realized, there was no fault to the older players that were around me that I felt should have been more open and honest with me. It was just a matter of how the industry is set up. Mm-hmm. And some people they're not just built to break the mold. They're not built to step outside of the norm. They were in the rat race as well, trying to survive and keep their careers and hold on to information that they felt would help them stay afloat to some extent. And I just felt that in some cases, like maybe it helped because the mistakes I made and the lessons I learned got me to where I am. And I was just simply blessed, truthfully, to be in it this long without any true guidance from individuals. But it made me resourceful. It made me more comfortable with, hey, I'm gonna go ask this question and I'm gonna pay more attention to detail. And so it helped me in a sense when it comes to other mentors that I've reached out to that are philanthropists and all this stuff. That made me realize they were not looking for Jori Davis. They were looking for the Maya Moores. They were looking for the Notre Dame stars and Skylar Diggins of who they wanted to be mentors for. They weren't looking for me. But also in a sense that helps me also as well, because I knew there was a market that people didn't pay attention to. And I know now as things come up, those people will gravitate that way just because of, it's business and it's a new market. But I felt there was a big need, and the individuals like a Jori Davis overseas that rightfully so, I have done great things. I have, led leagues in scoring, and there's other players that have done the same. But we're just, as I said, a lost community. And so that led to me being so passionate about our community over here. And that, ultimately continues to burn that fire that keeps me going to build what I want to ultimately build. So in a sense, as they say, God makes no mistakes. And I think it was all a part of the grand plan. But I think mentorship is very important. When you look at anyone, Kobe had Jordan. Everybody pins them against each other, but Jordan was constantly on the phone with Kobe. Yeah. When you look at Kyrie Irving, who had a father that played in the NBA, there's no question why he's successful. You had the Curry brothers, their father played in the NBA.
Yep.
That's a mentor. You look at these individuals that had fathers that played in NBA and now they're successful. That's mentorship.
That is mentorship.
That's not genetics. Part of it is genetics, but it's mentorship on how to navigate that world. It shows that mentorship is key in all worlds. I mean, that's why you have all these different individuals in consulting and mentorship. It's important. And so I feel strongly about that. And I believe some information as well should not come at a price.
Yes.
You know, that's the other thing. Some information that, you know, I have paid a major price, especially as I transition into entrepreneur world. And then I realized like that was not worth that price point.
Yeah.
Once I learned it on my own, or I found that there was another resource. So it's also validating that mentorship and validating the information that will be given to a player. And I just think it's key. Mentorship, those that have mentorship, they show that they become more successful.
Yeah.
And I think that's just overall very important.
You know, we have one thing in common because for a long time, as I was coming up, there were times where I felt like I didn't have a mentor. People really didn't care much about me. That's how I felt. But when I look back over those time frames, I started realizing who were mentors in my life. And I didn't even know they were mentors, because we look at the label of mentorship as someone who has been basically appointed to us to actually just mentor us. The one thing that I talk about in What Are You Sporting About the book is making sure you also find a qualified mentor, because you can find a mentor, but they may not be qualified to actually support you and educate you in the way that you need. And sometimes our peers can end up being mentors when we least expect it. So just even you figuring out and finding ways to literally just pick up the ball and do whatever you got to do, you know, those people along the way, it may not have been a long-term relationship, but whoever you connected with and talked to, they provided some key factors of mentorship to help you stay on board and in line. And then, of course, just your own ingenuity and perseverance and tenacity, which is what I feel like a lot of people are lacking, because it can mentally mess you up if you feel like everywhere you look, no one is there for me, but they're there for the top pick or whatever. And you're like, well, hold on, I'm pro too, though. You know, I'm trying to do good things too, you know?
Yeah.
So even with that experience and not finding a qualified mentor that you believe should have stepped in for you, you have now developed yourself into a mentor for other people. And sometimes it's what it's all about. You know, we may be the first ones to do something, but just because we're the first ones doesn't mean that other people coming along has to also be the first ones also. So
right. And I mean, I definitely had individuals, I mean, of course, my family have, you know, my mindset and everything, how I just generally move. You know, I definitely know my parents played a big part in that. And despite them not knowing how to navigate this sports world overseas, they were there to support. And of course, there's been individuals that have shared information that weren't players and that helped me to continue to grow. But, you know, when it comes to, as you said, that the typical idea of what your mentor should be, sometimes you have to let that go and look to the left and right of you, and go from there. But, you know, it's just something that, as we said before, it's life. And sometimes your journey has to be the way it's been in order to push you to what's the next step. And I truthfully think it was all in the grand scheme of things. Because maybe if I had mentors and I had everything I needed, there wouldn't be any passion to build WeVolv.
Right.
So
And there definitely, it just wouldn't be WeVolv, and it's definitely a space that's necessary. And we see even with athletes who are in the mainstream pro sports in America, even if they were to tell you they have a mentor, how qualified is that mentor?
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand what I'm saying? So what you're providing to this quote unquote forgotten community is not just a mentor to help you where you are now, but a mentor to help you be successful for the rest of your life. A mentor to help you create relationships where you can feel like a family and be able to call someone and say, hey, I'm having this problem. What do you think about it? And give me your true, honest opinion, because that's in communities like that, that's where true professional and personal development thrives.
Right. Yeah. And it's definitely that family feel, or as I say, like kind of that frat sorority feel, where you feel connected to a group or a network of people that are all, working together to elevate one another. And you have someone that's backing you. And that's something I think that we've lacked so much as athletes. Like we always, it's like, oh, our universities. Well, we've learned that the universities, they're in business. Oh, our coaches. Well, we've learned over and over, coaches get exposed. Of course, as players, we know the truths, but they still haven't been exposed to the level they could be about some of these coaches.
Yeah.
And you start to learn, like, man, they really didn't have my back.
Right.
And I just believe there's no more crying about it. It's like we either going to unite and we're going to take care of ourselves, or we're just going to continue to be the product in the cycle until we're cycled out, and it just keeps moving and we're cycled out and we're looking like, man, So that's just what we ultimately need. We need more unity. We need more substance when it comes to the relationships we build as athletes. And I know that's something I truthfully really longed for throughout my time overseas, because it was just like, why don't we have any real relationships? We're over here. We're all isolated. That makes no sense. Yeah. And so, I take it upon myself to be that bridge and to talk about these things so we can put it out in the air and then keep moving.
Yep. And it's catching on. And I love it.
Yeah.
It's catching on, and I absolutely love it. I love everything you're doing. Jori, do you have any words of encouragement or quick advice for any current pro European or any other country pro athlete who's left America and went overseas to play ball, or those who may be thinking about it?
Yeah. I would definitely say to the individuals that are overseas, that are headed over there, find peace within the silence, find peace within isolation, because it's ultimately, if you can deal in that space and you can kind of live in that space, you'll find a beautiful part of you. So even though it seems hard in that isolation, in that period, definitely sit with it a little bit and really dig and try to evolve out of it, because there'll be something that not many people get a chance to do. I would say step outside your comfort zone as much as possible, and don't be afraid to pull someone with you to do it, especially an athlete that's over there, because you don't know how much that's going to mean to them. You don't know how much that athlete that's sitting in their room really needs your hand to pull them out. So definitely step outside your comfort zone and bring somebody with you. And then the next thing I would say is don't get caught up in the ball or football or whatever is life, because this opportunity to be immersed in different cultures and be around a whole different group and culture is amazing, and it also would lead to major growth in who you are as a person if you embrace it. So embrace that change, and if you can do all three of those things, I believe despite sport, whatever happens with that, you're going to always if it's 1 year, 2 year, or up to 10 years, you're going to really look back on that experience and say, I'm glad I did it.
Beautiful. And how can people connect with you through WeVolv?
So you can follow us at www.wevolv.net. That's We Evolve, but with the E missing. So that creates WeVolv. And you can follow us on IG at WeVolv Society. We're also on Twitter, WeVolv Society. You can follow me, Jori Davis 32 on IG, and I am Jori Davis on Twitter. Those are the main places you can find us for now. And then just keep an eye out as we continue to gear up to do our first soft launch of some of the things we're trying to do to build the community.
Thank you so much, Jori. It was such a pleasure to have you. And I know that with WeVolv, you are about to change a lot of lives, and I'm proud of that.
So. Oh, yeah, I hope so. I hope it's a great journey and we continue to unite everyone and bring all the good souls, the people that really want to do some work.
Yes.
And help the collective together, bring us all together.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. And it was a pleasure.
Thank you as well. Have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us this week on What Are You Sporting About podcast. Make sure to visit our website, prosportlawyer.com, where you can subscribe to the show in iTunes, Stitcher, or whatever your favorite platform is, so you'll never miss a show. And while you're at it, if you found value in the show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes or iHeartRadio. Or if you'd simply tell a friend about the show, that would help us out too. If you like the show, you might want to check out our book, What Are You Sporting About? Attorney Sivonnia DeBarros is available for private consulting at sldebarros.com. And remember, we're here to educate, support, and guide you in your journey to success because we're all sporting about something.